There is a great and often fatal delusion in which many people, most often those who love sincerely and from the heart, come to believe that possessiveness is a sign of love, that jealousy means someone cares, that when someone wants to know where you are, with whom, why you smiled, to whom you sent a message, that it means you matter. And precisely at that point, fertile ground is created for the most dangerous form of emotional manipulation, narcissistic possessiveness, which is not based on love, but on fear, control, and a pathological need for dominance. To understand how far this is from love, we must first peek into the inner world of the narcissistic personality, the wasteland behind the facade. A narcissistic person is not what they appear to be on the outside. They are not a being full of confidence, but rather a person who, early in life, learned they could not be loved for who they truly are. Instead of developing an authentic self, the narcissist constructs a false self, a grandiose image that must constantly be fed by external validation. Love, for them, is not a matter of connection but of control over others to preserve that image. In other words, the narcissist does not seek a partner but a mirror. When a narcissistic person enters a relationship, they are not looking for closeness, intimacy, or mutual understanding. They are looking for an emotional resource, a source of validation, energy to feed their false self. And at first, it often looks like passionate love, because the narcissist knows how to charm. They know how to recognize your needs, to make you feel unique, seen, desired, even worshipped. But that is not love, it is the idealization phase. And the moment they sense that you are no longer perfect or no longer serving them as a mirror, the devaluation begins. In that transition from idealization to devaluation, narcissistic possessiveness emerges in full form. This is not ordinary jealousy, nor the mild insecurity any of us might sometimes feel. This is an obsessive need to know your every move, to manage your emotions, to dictate who you can and cannot talk to have complete control over your world, because if they lose control over you, they lose the part of their self-worth they projected onto you. They cannot detach without feeling like they are falling apart inside. And so they squeeze, suffocate, monitor, interrogate, blame, emotionally blackmail. All in the name of love. But this is not love. Love does not come from emptiness. Love does not want to possess. It wants to connect. Love does not dim your light so that only one can shine. Love does not forbid, insult, or manipulate. Love does not use your vulnerability against you. And narcissistic possessiveness does exactly that. It is a form of psychological control in which the partner is not a person but a tool. And when the tool loses its function, it is replaced, devalued, or destroyed. To the narcissist, your existence is subject to the function you serve in their narrative. If they need you to look powerful, you must be weak. If they need you to seem desirable, you must admire them. If they need you to avoid loneliness, you must stay, but on their terms. And the moment you show signs of independence, when you start turning your gaze inward instead of toward them, they experience that as betrayal. And that's when emotional warfare begins. Narcissistic possessiveness includes refined forms of control, gaslighting, making you doubt your own perception, silent treatment, withholding affection as punishment, passive aggression, insults disguised as jokes, pathetic attempts to invoke guilt, "I've done everything for you," and even direct threats if nothing else works. All of it is part of the arsenal in the war for dominance over your spirit. Because if they control your reality, they control your emotions. And if they control your emotions, then, by their logic, you are still theirs. From their internal perspective, possessiveness is necessary. They know no other way. A narcissist cannot love unconditionally because they were never loved unconditionally themselves. Their possessiveness is not a sign of strength but of deep inner insecurity and fear of abandonment. At the very core of narcissistic behavior lies a fragile ego that has never known stability. The narcissist's ego is not mature or rooted in authentic self-worth. It is a defensive construction, a psychological wall built around a wounded inner child. This ego is obsessed with control because it has never experienced safety. A narcissist fears abandonment not because they love the person who might leave, but because losing that person means losing their psychological oxygen. The partner is not a companion, they are a life support system. Without someone to mirror their value, they fall into a terrifying inner void. Abandonment, for them, is not just the end of a relationship, it is the crumbling of their entire self-image. That's why they react with panic, humiliation, begging, threats, rage, or cold manipulation. Their ego is dependent on external validation for its survival, and freedom, your freedom, is its greatest threat. The paradox is that their need to control and degrade others comes from the same place as their need to be adored. They are terrified you'll leave, not because they love you but because without you, there is no reflection in the mirror. For the person caught in such a relationship, narcissistic possessiveness is confusing, because it often comes with gestures that imitate love, messages, declarations, dramatic displays of concern. That's why many stay thinking they are with someone who loves too much. But true love never suffocates. Love does not come in the form of control, prohibitions, or intimidation. Love does not ask you to forget yourself in order to be worthy of someone else. The greatest trap of narcissistic possessiveness is that over time, it convinces you that you can't live without it. You become emotionally dependent, not because the love is deep, but because your self-esteem has been systematically eroded, your boundaries dismantled, your world distorted. This is known as a trauma bond, a bond not created by love, but by the unpredictable combination of reward and punishment, which creates a neurochemical addiction similar to gambling or drugs. You stay even though you know it's destroying you. You stay because you think they'll change. You stay because you no longer know who you are without the dynamic. And the narcissist knows this, and uses it. Every doubt you have, every need for peace becomes a new point of pressure. They'll tell you you're overthinking, exaggerating, being paranoid, hurting them with your lack of trust. In truth, they do this to make you apologize for sensing that something is wrong. That's ultimate manipulation, when the victim apologizes to the abuser for feeling abused. Possessiveness is not romance. It is a gilded cage. And when a person finally sees clearly, they are often so emotionally drained that they doubt whether they will ever understand what healthy love looks like. That's why education is crucial. Understanding the dynamics of a narcissistic relationship, reading, therapy, talking to people who've lived through the same, this is all part of the process of returning to yourself. Because what the narcissist takes isn't just your time, your attention, or your energy. They take your belief that you deserve to be loved without conditions, without fear, without humiliation. True love never asks you to shrink so someone else can feel big. True love doesn't count your messages, track your phone, or forbid your friends. It doesn't come with ultimatums. Real love sees your freedom as a gift, not a threat. Narcissistic possessiveness sees your freedom as a system flaw, a loophole through which you might escape, and that must never be allowed. Because if you go, they're left alone with themselves, and that is the one person they cannot stand. So remember, if someone needs you to be locked down in order to feel sure you belong to them, that is not love. That is prison disguised as a relationship. Love does not ask you to be smaller, quieter, more obedient. Love looks you in the eye and says, grow. Be all that you are. And I will love you still. And if your partner cannot handle your freedom, they do not love you. They love the power they hold over you. Liberation from narcissistic possessiveness is not easy. It takes courage to see the truth, strength to break free, and patience to heal. But it is the only path to a life where love is not fear, where you do not have to hide, explain, or justify yourself. Where love is not surveillance, but a space in which you grow without fear of losing someone by being fully yourself. Because what is lost when you choose to be your full self was never truly yours to begin with. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.